Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 10. And we are continuing with our house calls this week. Just like Dr. Viv did house calls, I'm making house calls. And I'm not no doctor, no PhD, and I don't have the fancy degrees like Dr. Viviana, but I got a few words of wisdom that I can share. So I'm not no real doctor. I guess you might call me a quack doctor. But anyway, we knocking on the door of Mark and Lindsey. This is for Mark and Lindsey only. I do videos for separate couples. I will be uploading them all day. There'll be little widgets in the video. You can click on it to move to the next video. Or if you watch to the end of the video, you can just click on the picture and it'll take you right to the next video. Hopefully you'll watch to the end. Well, anyway, y'all, just like I predicted at the beginning of the season, I knew this couple would have a problem. I just saw that their similarities were not going to be complementary. And you know what? They are really competing against each other. They are not working as a team. They are actually competing with each other. And I didn't like the exercises they had for this couple this week, because all those exercises did was exasperate the problems they already had. One is these two compete with each other for the stage, for friendship, who's the most liked, who's the most everything. And although Lindsey is 10 times worse than Mark, he has it in him too. And that's part of the problem that Lindsey doesn't like about Mark. Because what she doesn't like about Mark is Mark doesn't always choose her when there's sort of like a beef or a rift. And the problem is Mark wants to be liked as well. And he says, you know what? I'm not going to risk not being liked for you, Lindsey. I'm not going to be on your team. So as a result, these two don't really work as a team. They really aren't functioning as a married partnership. They're more functioning as competitors and roommates. That's why I didn't like these little exercises they gave them this week. One was they gave them that exercise of that dominatrix sex kit. Wrong thing for them to do. That might have been good for Katina and Olajuwon, because Katina needed to be more assertive. But the problem that Mark and Lindsey has, they have the problem that Lindsey is too controlling and domineering over Mark, and he doesn't like it. So to give her tools as a dominatrix outfit and all these little sex toys and things like that, that was the wrong thing to give her so that she could have more dominance over Mark. And Mark didn't like it. That's why that scene was cringeworthy. It wasn't funny. It wasn't romantic. It was none of that. And they were laughing because they were uncomfortable. And in the after party, Lindsey said that, afterwards, Mark really wanted to take the pictures of himself in these outfits and everything. He probably does, because he likes to ham it up too. But that was not the right exercise for them. They really needed an exercise in teamwork. When you look at Mark and Lindsey, they're always doing things where they're competitors. They played that little Nerf gun fight in this episode. That wasn't good. Even Mark didn't like that. He says this is not what he wants. He wants to cuddle. And you know what? Lindsey was like, ugh, why would we want to do that? When they was last episode, they was riding go-karts, and they was racing in go-karts. Then they was also doing the baseball. And you know what? All that sports, competitive sports stuff, that would have been good for another couple. But this couple, they actually need some team building exercises. That's what they need, because they're not working as a team. And this new problem they have with this whole sex issue, that has become what Mark uses to gain control in the relationship. That's his leverage. Lindsey runs over Mark with her tongue. And so Mark is feeling less and less in control in this relationship. He's feeling more and more dominated. So now what he's using is he's withholding sex in order to control Lindsey. And as smart as and intelligent as Lindsey is, she still doesn't give it. Even when Dr. Viviana tries to talk to her, she still doesn't get it. She starts this episode open talking to her friend, talking about Mark's a good guy and he has potential and everything, but Mark has withheld sex and pulled back on sex, and she's upset about it. Her friend tries to tell her she needs to tone it down, but Lindsey doesn't want to listen to her friends. She hasn't listened to her mother. She hasn't listened to her father, her brother, or her friends. Lindsey doesn't like to listen and take constructive criticism. Lindsey is like a runaway freight train. And so here her friend is telling her once again, you need to tone it down and give him some space. And she's saying, no, he needs to give me what I want, and that's sex. She talks about she's gotten more sex when she was single. She starts going on talking about Mark earlier in that day or whatever, it was taking her clothes off. And she was like, oh, okay, we're going to have some good sex. And she said they ended up doing it. She said, but it was like, she said it was nothing to it. She didn't even have an orgasm or anything like that. Mark got up, put it on his clothes, and went to the gym. And she was like, what was this? You talk about you wanting emotional connection. This wasn't no emotional connection. This wasn't making love. Absolutely not. It wasn't making love, Lindsey. You know what that was? That was effing. And what he was doing to you in the bedroom, effing you, is the same thing that you do to him in public with your clothes on all the other times. You talk bad about him. You ignore his feelings. You ignore his wishes. So you know what he did in the bedroom with you? He ignored your wishes. He ignored you, and he gave nothing to you. He did his business, and he did a slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. You know, Lindsey talks all this stuff about how all her ex-boyfriends, you know, she had better sex, and you know what, all these other kind of things, and how she dated big fish and all, you know, some top guys. Well, Lindsey, why didn't you marry any of them? That's what you need to ask yourself. Why didn't any of those men want to marry you? And this is the problem I think Lindsey has. I think Lindsey probably is good in the bedroom. I bet she brings all that excitement and that energy to the bedroom, and guys like her. But you know what? They don't want to marry that. They don't want that 24/7. What they end up doing with that type of woman is exactly what Mark did to you, Lindsey. Slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. Lindsey needs to get this. She's very smart. She's intelligent. She needs to peel back the layers on herself, because right now she's repeating patterns over and over again, but she keeps blaming the men. She called all her exes jabronis. She called Mark a Guido, and she's making fun of him. It's so funny that she called her exes jabronis and all these other kind of problems, and they weren't good people, but now she's sitting here praising them. You know, they had this little exercise where they pulled a question out of a jar, and they said, what is your favorite sexual position? And guess what Lindsey said? On top. She likes to be on top so she can hit her G-spot. You know, nothing's wrong with that, but it's more emblematic. It's more emblematic of who Lindsey is. She likes to be in control. She likes to be on top. She likes to dominate. And that's why that little game they played where she got to put on these outfits and be domineering over Mark, it wasn't sexy. It was cringy. He didn't like it. He didn't like it one bit. So when Dr. Viv comes to visit, she says, what's the trajectory of your sex? What's going on? And they both laugh awkwardly, saying this marriage, and Lindsey says this marriage is dead. She makes a nasty, rude comment because she's upset and she's frustrated. And Dr. Viv says to her, listen, if you want this marriage to work, if you really want him to be attracted to you, you've got to stop hitting below the belt. Do you know that, Lindsey? Do you know you got to stop hitting below the belt? And Lindsey says, I tried, but it's hard. And Dr. Viv says, it's hard not being rude? Yes, that's the answer to your question, Dr. Viv. It is hard for Lindsey not to be rude, because Lindsey at her nature is rude. Doesn't mean she's rude all the time. No, but her nature is one of rudeness. People want to keep saying that Lindsey is helpful and these other kind of things. No, Lindsey helps so she can be in positions then to control. That's two different things. When you help a person just to help them, that's one thing. But when you help a person in order to gain leverage over them so that you can control them even more, that's who Lindsey is. And every time Lindsey helps Mark, she then comes back with a remark about him, talking about how his life is out of order, it's messed up, his life is messed up. Well, if you're here to help a person, why then do you turn around and hold it against them and talk bad about them? That's who Lindsey is. This whole sex thing with them has become a competition. It's been Mark's way to gain leverage over Lindsey and to control Lindsey, just like Lindsey likes to control Mark. Lindsey's talking about she needs Mark to woo her. She wants Mark to chase her. She says she misses that from dating. Well, here's the problem, Lindsey. Them men that were wooing you and chasing you, you didn't get married. So there was obviously a problem. Maybe those men were wooing you for sex. I really believe that Lindsey has a problem with taking relationships from a sexual relationship to a marriage level. And she doesn't understand what's stopping that. She doesn't think that she's a factor, a problem in her relationships at all. And she blames other people for the problems. And that is what's causing a problem between these two as well. You know, in this episode, Mark gave her sort of like a 9 or something on some things, but then he gave her a 7. Well, in the after party, Lindsey saw that clip and Lindsey wasn't happy about that. Mark gave her a 6. And she said, well, I don't like that he's shading me, considering that Alyssa's been falling into his DMs. So there goes Lindsey. Lindsey, go ahead and release some more information to us, which I covered in the after party. You got to watch that video. But supposedly Mark is talking to Alyssa. But you know what? We find out that Alyssa's been talking to everybody. So I don't think it's a thing where Mark's trying to hook up with Alyssa. But what Lindsey didn't like about it was that Mark was fraternizing with Alyssa. And we all know that Alyssa and Lindsey don't get along. In fact, Alyssa has blocked Lindsey. So what Lindsey didn't like was that, how are you talking to Alyssa? You're my husband, and she has blocked me from social media. I agree with Lindsey on that. But this when the competition comes involved. Mark doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about supporting Lindsey and being Team Lindsey, because at this point in time, he says, I want to be liked too. And I'm not going to not be liked and have friendships because of you, Lindsey. Mark is choosing himself. His need to be liked is trumping his need to support his wife when it comes to Lindsey and Lissa. Now, do I think that Lindsey should be supported in half the shit she does? Absolutely not. But in this particular situation, I do understand it, because I wouldn't want my husband talking to no woman who blocked me from social media. Hell no. But these two right here, this is not love. This is nothing romantic going on. This is pure competition. And right now, Mark's only leverage he has on Lindsey is sex. And the only time he's going to give it up is, I guess, when he gets so horny, he's got to go ahead and do his business, what he did last time. And like she said, it feels like a slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's it, y'all. Bye.